purpose of our group is to connect small business owners with the Las Vegas locals while creating a network of like-minded professionals to share strategies and support within an online community.
Our mission is to encourage you to get out and go shop local.
Ready, Ben?
Yep.
Hey, Go Shop Local. My name's Maxine Ross, and I'm here with Ben Burkhalter. And today we're with Anna Bartoletti, who is a Las Vegas fashion designer. Hi, Anna. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
So, Anna, tell us a little bit about being a fashion designer in Las Vegas and a little bit about what you do.
Right. So I'm a fashion designer. I do anything between like custom work. I have a lot of custom clients. I work one-on-one with clients. I also have work that I feature on my website, so people can find me there. And I've also done work I had a garment go to the Miss America pageant. I've done some shows here in town. So I do kind of a little bit of everything.
So Anna has actually been recognized by Forbes magazine and the Las Vegas Review-Journal. She's participated in New York Fashion Week and even studied as an apprentice under Betsy Johnson. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginning? So you're from New York City originally, that's where you grew up?
Yes, I was born and raised in New York City in Staten Island, and then I lived in Manhattan for a while, and I went to school at FIT. I graduated FIT with a bachelor's degree in fine arts in fashion design, and you were able to also do like a little specialization. So my specialization was knitwear. So, and I still to this day love knitwear.
So
it's really fun.
Explain to us a little bit about knitwear, just in case people don't know what it is.
So knitwear is like anything that stretches. Okay. Usually the fibers are kind of wrapped around each other, kind of almost like they're hooked together. And so it allows like a stretch, and that can come in many different forms. Sometimes people will have like a knit sweater, or sometimes people have just like stretchy fabric that you can just wear, pants out of. It could be like a variety of things. So it's really fun to work with.
Yeah, I get that. So what got you into fashion? Were you always into fashion when you were younger, or what kind of, developed that passion in you?
Well, when I was younger, I was the kid that always had the sketchbook and pencil in hands, and I was always drawing, always sketching. And my parents put me in art school when I was 13. Oh, wow. And so I loved it. I mean, I wanted to be an artist. I was going to be a full-on, have my art in a museum or something, And then when I got to high school, I took a little fashion design class. And that was the first time it was sort of introduced to me that you could like do fashion. I didn't really think about it before then. However, I always dressed kind of crazy. And I remember in high school, people were always copying what I dressed and like how I wore things, and I'd be like, oh, and then I would be like, well, okay, I don't like that, so I'm going to change it to something else. And then they would like copy that too. And I'd be like, well, maybe I have a thing for it. I don't know. I didn't really know. It was just kind of like playing around. But I knew I wanted to do something artistic. So that class kind of really inspired me. And then from there, I researched schools in fashion. And then I thought, well, hey, if I could, because, being an artist is kind of like, they don't really usually make too much money. So I thought, well, maybe I can make a living doing fashion, and then I can kind of combine the art aspect of it and the fashion aspect of it. And I still kind of like approach fashion as like an art form. So everything that I do, I'm trying to be as creative as I possibly can when I'm creating. And so that's sort of like my art is the tools for making clothes, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. I mean, fashion really is wearable art.
It is.
So I can definitely see that. I actually have always been passionate about art myself. So I actually went into marketing, and that was my way to like kind of still use
marketing is an art in itself too. I'm learning that right now. Yeah. Correct. So, and that could be really fun. And I love like graphic design and all that. And it's all artistic. So
creativity can be, multifaceted.
It could be in many ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's such a great thing that you from your childhood got to enjoy, and it was part of your upbringing, and that you're still now being able to, do your art and enjoy this every day as part of your job. And, I could probably guess that this is nothing more satisfying than your job, and not too many people can really have, have that view on their job. So I'm sure a lot of people are jealous, and that's really,
Well,
really,
it's a
really,
lot of work.
Yeah,
yeah.
that.
It's a lot of work. I mean, there's some times where it's super rewarding, especially sometimes I do dance costumes here in town. And so when I see one of my designs on stage, that's always fun. But then there's times where it's really hard too, and I'm struggling, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And I think everybody goes through that,
For sure.
Yeah.
everything's hard. It's a lot of work.
For sure. I mean, me and Ben go through that too all the time. When you own a small business, there's days that you love it and there's days that you hate it. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's about continually, moving
Right.
on and pushing through.
Pushing forward, push through everything. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what makes you an entrepreneur, like you
Yeah.
don't have to love it all the time.
Right, exactly. Because there's some times where it's hard.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's life though too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So I saw on your website that you were an apprentice of Betsy Johnson. And
Yes.
was that something that happened through FIT, or how did that come about? Did you apply for that?
So it was through FIT my senior year of college. I just one day got a ring on my doorbell and a package I had to sign for, and it said that I was chosen to be paired with a CFDA designer. And apparently there was 6 students from my school, each got chosen. So I was one of 6. So that was really exciting. I didn't know anything about it. So that means like my teachers had gotten together and decided to pick me. And they paired us each with a designer, and a designer who was kind of in line with like your style, I guess, or So they paired me with Betsy Johnson, which I was super excited about because she's one of my absolute favorites.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, I won the jackpot here. And so that was super fun. I spent a lot of time in her studio. I made garments in her studio, and the whole purpose of it was to pair a student with a CFDA designer, and then we were doing a promotion for recycled fabric. And so they had given us this recycled fabric, and we had to make garments that were going to go down the runway together. So they had to be like coordinating. So I had showed her my sketch and my idea and how I was going to do it, and she liked it. And then she made one as well that kind of like coordinated with mine. And we, I worked in her studio over a couple of months, sewed it myself, got to know her staff, got to see what it was like to be a designer, very amazing designer, and how she ran her business. And she was just absolutely amazing. She was just one of those people, like she knew exactly what she wanted. There was, she's very businesslike, and just taught me so much. And I will like forever treasure that time together, because it might have been a short period of time overall, but it was still really fun, and I learned so much from her.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a treat for somebody in your industry, and which to be able to be in those shoes for one day, and basically you were there for, as long as you were.
Yeah.
Me and Max always talk about this, and she does bring it up, and it's something that I have found to time and time again be true is, you're a product of who you're around, and who your mentors that can kind of show you, and for you to have that knowledge to be able to be side by side, and it's basically priceless. Somebody would pay, I'm sure, millions of dollars to be able to work by it, but like you said, you got to see their processes, see their different ways, and what I was trying to get at is basically success leaves clues. So all that success you got to be around and see firsthand, I'm sure you got to soak up and kind of be able to incorporate into your business, to this very day.
Yes, it was very exciting. I felt very blessed to be able to do that. And I do still think about it a lot, because I learned so much from her. And I think, still today in my business, like I hope to achieve, what she did. Like she was just amazing, but she started small too, and grew. So.
Oh yeah, everybody starts small. So
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
start small. So
Yeah.
Even Bill Gates, the Betsy Johnsons of the world, we all start
Right.
in our kitchens, in our dining rooms. That's how it goes.
Yep, that's right. It goes.
So tell us a little bit about after FIT. So what have you been working on since then? What happened like prior to that? What brought you to Las Vegas? Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
So let's see. When I graduated FIT, I worked in the fashion industry in New York for a while for different designers, which again was super exciting and fun and so much. And then I started getting kind of interested in doing costume design, and there was a lot of like independent films that were coming to New York, and so I got to work on like shows and stuff. And so then I decided I was going to move to California and pursue that for a little bit, which I did, and I got to work on some movies there and do some film work there. And after about 3 years, I decided that I really still just loved to design, and I really just wanted to have my own business. And so that was it. And then I moved back to New York, and yeah, so let's see, I moved back to New York, got married, had kids, and then decided to move out here. And then here we are.
Here we are. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your business now.
Yeah. So I made, let's see, I made for Miss Nevada 2018. I made her garment, her state costume for the Miss America pageant. So that was so exciting.
Yeah,
that was
fun.
so much fun. I chose the Golden Knights, of course, and I worked with her and what she like wanted, and she really wanted like a warrior look, and so I designed. It's supposed to be kind of like a warrior, and then it has a really super long cape in the back. It was like 8 feet long, I believe. And I hand pieced and hand cut out the logo for the Golden Knights. Cool. And then I beaded or stoned the whole thing. And I had a lot of help helping me stone it because it was like down to the wire. We only had 3 weeks to do the whole entire garment.
Oh wow!
And it was a lot of work, but I was so grateful for the help, and it was just so much fun to do that. And then I got to go to the Miss America pageant and see her in it in the parade, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah, what a bunch of exciting things you've gotten to do. My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love there's definitely an element of like costume design that I really love, because with costuming you can just be wild and crazy. You can just like be so creative, and it doesn't matter because it's like a costume. And then I love taking that into everyday clothes too when I do my lines and stuff like that. And I still kind of do things a little crazy, but I'm trying to make it a little more wearable though.
For sure.
So I have different, yeah, I have different friends. This is just a kind of a question because obviously I'm not the fashionista as some of you girls are, but one of the questions that I've kind of come across is, from you moving here from New York to Las Vegas, I know fashion sometimes is kind of that you have to be in a certain place, the certain areas to kind of be successful in it. So,
right.
Do you coming from New York seems like that would be one of the top places, if not the top place for fashion in the world. So you come into Las Vegas. Is there a lot of opportunity out here for fashion for the people that maybe want to get into fashion and kind of dabble with it? Sometimes people tell them, "Oh, you gotta go to Texas, you gotta go to New York." Is there a fashion scene out here in Vegas that that could find success for some people that might want to go down that road?
Yeah, so that's really interesting because you did bring up there is definitely a different whole like atmosphere here in Las Vegas than, of course, New York City. There's a couple different aspects to it all. I am part of the Las Vegas Fashion Council, so that's really great, and they help to try to grow the fashion industry here, and it's made up of different designers, it's made up of different businesses. All in helping to promote the fashion industry here. Now, of course, the fashion industry here is much smaller than New York. But it's really interesting the time that we're living in right now, because you really can be almost anywhere in a way, because especially now in the time we're living in, right? Everything is online.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can really reach people now, I think, in a different way that you could even 5-10 years ago. It's very common for businesses to have their online presence now. So I almost feel like you could live anywhere and you can still work and you can still act like I can design really anywhere. It doesn't kind of really matter. I mean, now if I was to do shows in New York, of course I would have to like, ship all my garments there, and that would be like a process. It'd be harder than say, living in New York. But on the flip side, it's way cheaper to live here and pursue something that I want to do, because living in New York is really expensive. So it's kind of like it's it's a give and take, but I think for the world we're living in right now, you really could just live anywhere. So
Absolutely. No, I think fashion, from what I know from different people and friends that have been, it's a challenging and very hard um, area to be in. And you got to sometimes kind of think outside the box and be different to kind of be noticed. You were kind of telling us with Betsy Johnson and kind of working in that aspect, you learn different things. Is there one piece of advice that maybe that you received that maybe, that you lived by, that you really heard? Because fashion, again, I'm sure you've had the door closed in your face many times in different instances, and it's hard for somebody to keep picking themselves up time and time again. So is there a piece of advice that maybe somebody gave you, or something that, every time that challenge arose, that you kind of thought back to that and it just made you that much stronger, for, maybe for somebody that's kind of at that point right now, if they're determining if this is the way they want to go?
right, so that's a really great thing. That's a really great question, because it is hard. Fashion is so subjective in a way, and everybody's going to have an opinion. Everybody's going to have a different approach to it, and a different, like everybody likes different things. I think what you really have to do if you're starting out, I know it's kind of hard to be confident in your work, but you really have to be confident that you have a voice and that you have something to say. And I think fulfilling that inside of you, what you feel like you want to do. And if, I don't know, in a way, it's like listen to yourself, listen to your inner thing. One thing that happened with Betsy Johnson, later on, hearing that she mentioned that I think she mentioned I was very talented, and that is something that very like stuck with me, because I thought, here's this huge designer, she's absolutely amazing, and she's saying I'm talented. Like, it made me feel like, okay, if she can say that, maybe I have something, maybe there's something, like, even if nothing comes of it, at least I tried, right? And
100%.
it's just keep pushing forward and trying to be as confident as you can, which I know is hard sometimes for people, but it's hard for me sometimes too. But I think just keep doing it, keep going at it.
No, it's definitely good words to, it's like I said, there's no, I don't think there's a instruction manual. And once you
Right.
come out of FIT
She
to say,
was.
okay, fashion, so let's go and make you some money now. So
Right.
you have to kind of find your way, be strong with it, be persistent,
Mm-hmm.
like you said. And I think, that mindset, that confidence, I think you hit the nail on the head. Stay confident
Yes.
with what you know and who you are, and don't let anybody tell you anything different than what you
Right.
know. And, look at some of the craziest artists out there and some of the craziest people, like I don't even want to make myself look stupid, but there's plenty of art out there that you look at in traditional sense and you go, that's not right. But hey, 20 years, 30, 100 years down the road, all of a sudden it's worth millions. So,
Right. That's right.
no, very, very, no, I love learning about different parts of, different industries. So, it takes.
And like today, like I was saying, like today you could do everything online. So be confident in what you're doing, but it's almost like you can do it and put it out there, and there's no like, whereas before, I think before, like we had like the internet and online businesses and websites and stuff, it was sort of like harder in a way, but now it's like you can put your stuff out there and it's easier to do that in a way now. So
Social
interesting.
media.
Yeah, it's like people can find you and see what you're about, and in a way that we couldn't do that before. So
Well, and before, when people were, closing the door in your face, they were physically closing the door in your face.
right,
Now it's kind of
exactly.
like there's
Now it's like
multiple eyes, and you're like,
You just don't open an email now or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you've been working on this year. I know that you've been working on some masks, and you've
Mhm.
kind of been navigating 2020 as we all have been
Yes.
in a different way. So tell us a little bit about how you've pivoted in your business and kind of what you've been working on this year.
Yeah, so this year was absolutely crazy. I think all of us who are designers, anybody who can sew, I think back in like February, we all just everything stopped and we all started making masks. We all did. Um, I've never made so many masks in my life. I just spent a lot of time researching the fit. Of course, is really important to me always. Anything I make. So I spent a lot of time doing that. Once I got a pattern down that I really was happy with, just kept going. And I also did lots and lots of donating, especially early on because there's so many people that needed masks that didn't have any. I donated to hospitals and clinics and just so many people and organizations. So that took up a lot of time the first couple of months of the year, and then it started like slowing down a little bit because of course everybody started doing it. It's becoming more widely available. So I still do masks. I still actually get a lot of people ask me for masks, and I actually just put out a little Christmas collection because I still do get a lot of people asking me for them. Not as much as before, but so then it's allowed me then to also take some more time to do. I work with clients. I work one-on-one with people for custom made garments. I do a lot of that. I have my website up now, and so I take orders off my website.
That's a beautiful website. I
Oh,
like
thank
I like
you.
that website a lot. Yeah, that's really
Oh,
nice.
thank you. Thank you. I did all that myself. So that was a learning
Yeah,
curve too, because I've never done that before. So
absolutely.
I spent a lot of time this year just focusing. I think, being home like we all were, I had a little bit more time to research and study and learn aspects of my business that I didn't really necessarily do before. So I spent a lot of time with that. And I'm also working on 2 collections coming up early next year. So that's been taking a little bit of time. Um, and then I did decide to enter the contest, and that was really exciting. Um,
Yeah,
so
tell us
it's
a little
just
bit
been
about
like
the contest.
nonstop.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the contest for everybody.
So the contest was for Fashionxt. They are Portland's Fashion Week. So you have like New York Fashion Week, and then you have LA Fashion Week. Those are like the 2 big ones in our country. But then the next one down would be Portland's.
Cool.
And so it's just it's a great city. It's a great organization. Um, I really love what they were doing. They really support designers. And I heard about it. They had actually contacted me, asked me if I wanted to enter, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds really fun!" Because what better way than to take something so kind of simple and basic, like as a mask, and then really try to do something really super creative with it. And I love that challenge. I think that's so fun. That's like right up my alley. So um, that was what I did. So I challenged myself to do something. I wanted to make a mask that had um, meaning behind it. That was my whole thought. And during this whole lockdown, pandemic, and everything, I spent a lot of time researching the Spanish flu of 1918. I was like super, super inspired by that. I was reading stories all the time, really like trying to learn about these people, their lives, what were they doing back then? What were they thinking? Like they were going through something that we're going through right now, and we're kind of like, wow, this is like we've never gone through this before, but these people like lived through this. And so I was just so fascinated by that. And so when it came time for the mask contest, I was like, well, I'm already so inspired by this. It'd be really fun to try to like combine that whole like thinking and that inspiration all together with the mask. So I had to enter 3 masks for the contest. That was one of the rules. So I thought, well, I'm going to do it. The first one that I did was called Full Circle, and it's kind of a really crazy mask. It's not really meant for like, I mean, people could wear it, but it's meant to be kind of crazy, It's just
Sure.
fun.
You're creative.
And
You're massively creative one.
yeah, it's like the most creative one. It's like this big, long, crazy thing. But what I did with that is the reason why I made it so big is because I wanted to say so much with that mask. And so I had printed out on fabric like different like little posters from 1918, different things that they were like, because there's a lot of their time period is different obviously than ours, so there was a lot of like posters and that kind of stuff, whereas today we a lot of our stuff is online. So I was able to get those photos and print them out And I was also fascinated with, they even had the Antimask League of 1918. Now, this fascinated me so much because I was like, wow, even back then,
Well,
people
just think about
didn't
back
want to wear
then.
a mask.
Think about back then. As much as we know now, like you're saying,
Right?
we know the internet. We know
We
we
know
can tell you
so
if
much
you're
more. Yeah.
bullshitting, or excuse my language,
Yeah.
if
It's
you're
okay.
lying or if whatever. But back then in 1918, for all I
Yeah.
knew, the world was ending, and there was no
Right.
source. There was nobody to
Yeah.
tell them like, "Hey,
There's,
everything's gonna be okay." So yeah, can you imagine living in those times with the knowledge of the unknown to go along with
right.
it? Oh my goodness.
Right. And then right after that, they had the war, right? So it was just, they were living in really scary times. I can't even imagine. And so that's what I was so fascinated about. I'm like, oh my goodness, these people. And like, like, I kind of feel in the same way, a lot of people. So that was my whole concept. So I just printed out all this stuff on fabrics, and I almost like kind of collaged them on the mask. And then I embroidered 1918 and some like lines kind of connecting it all together, and then 2020 at the end. And that was my whole concept, was we were kind of like connecting to these people that lived back in 1918. So that was the first one that I designed. The second one I designed was, it just had, I don't know if you saw on my website, but it just had like a flat, like I just wanted like a sign,
Oh, I
like
did see the
wear a
flat one.
mask
Yeah.
or go to jail. I just
Mhm.
was like, because I saw a photo again back in 1918 of a lady wearing this around her neck, and I just thought, like, what a saying. What were these, like, these people must have been so kind of like scared. I mean, there was like, I did find that there were some people that were arrested back then for wearing a mask, for not wearing a mask, sorry. So it was a very real thing. And then, of course, nowadays, everybody, I find a lot of controversy about, do you wear a mask, do you not wear a mask? And a lot of people, and the whole notion of like, are we going to get to a point where we're like forced? Like right now, like we're told to wear it, but like, are we going to get to a point where we're going to be arrested if we don't? It's almost like I wanted to make that statement of, where are we right now? What is going on? Like, this is like our time period right now. I hope we don't get to that point, but I just wanted to make something to really, it was more like to make people think,
Yeah,
it wasn't like, I wasn't trying to say,
No,
wear a mask
perspective.
or you're going to go in jail. It was more like, just think about this concept, like, where are we right now?
Well, and it's like you said, putting a perspective in
Mhm.
a different time and a different way to look
Right.
at it can kind of maybe bring some realism and kind of, make somebody that might be thinking something like kind of, it gives them a second side to it. And it's,
Yeah.
like I said, history repeats itself. We
Mhm.
have different things that we go through, and it's just interesting in a different time how, a similar situation was kind of addressed and how they handled it. So yeah,
Right.
very, very,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was my whole thing. And I just thought, how crazy that would that be to just have this mask with this big sign on it. So that was, and I could just see that walking down the runway if I can ever have a runway show after this COVID is over. I just think that would be so cool. And then my third one actually that I designed is the one that I think is what they kind of chose as the winner. And that one I kind of was, so my thought process was start with 1918 but kind of end with 2020. And so the mask that I did, I wanted it to be very kind of like almost sort of like really innocent looking. I just made it white. I did like scallop edges around it, very kind of like innocent looking. But then if you read it, I hand embroidered, it took me 3 days. I hand embroidered all the words that I thought were describing the year that we're in. Everything. So, death, like panic, COVID-19, politics. I had Biden on the left. I had Trump on the right. I did, I did one that said food, and then I put a line through it. Like, there's no food, there's no toilet paper, like everything that I could possibly think of, that kind of describes that the world we're in right now is, and that's why I named it Words of 2020, because this is like, our year is so unique and so different. Like, I've never lived in a time like it's such as now. I mean, I think we're all sort of looking back to last year and comparing it to this year, and like, we never would have guessed this is where we're at.
Never,
A year
never
later,
would have thought it was
right?
coming.
So many people are like, wow, last year I was doing this, and now this year this is happening, and it's just so different. It's such a unique year. Hopefully 21 will not be like this. But I just wanted to kind of like preserve that,
For sure.
because hopefully it is a year that we never go back to. So I wanted to just preserve that and just talk about this is the year that we're in right now, and this is all the stuff that's happening. And so that was.
And I remember when, 2020 started, my boss at the time kept saying that it was the year 2020, the year of perfect vision. And I've continued to think about that for this entire time, because even though it is a kind of a dark and tough time, I mean, it's also been a really eye-opening time. This time
Right.
last year, I was complaining about something stupid, probably like, oh, I can't go like at a party tonight or something dumb, like, and
Right.
now my
Right.
struggles are completely different, so I
Yeah.
joke with my mom all the time, like, oh, can I go back to complaining about like, laundry or something? Like,
Right.
what about this?
Me
Like,
too.
so I think it really will hopefully, when this is all over, it will kind of make people more grateful for what they have, and that
Yes.
we made it through it, like
Right.
hopefully it empowers people in a
Yes.
certain type of way.
Yes. And I know, and maybe you experience this too, but I know a lot of my friends are trying to find the good in the year. And a lot of people are saying, it's given them time to be closer to their family. It's given them time to maybe do some things that, they didn't get to do before, because we were always like running around like crazy before. So I think it's been a tough year in a lot of ways, but also a year of where we kind of really got to reflect on ourselves, our families, our life. What do we want to do with our lives in a way that we never really did before? It was so easy to get caught up in things before, whereas now we're forced to stop and kind of just take a look at our lives in a way that, we never really had that before. So
No,
it's just such an interesting time.
it's a good reset for us sometimes, especially with, like you said, everything that's going on, to kind of, like you said, have that perspective, because we always talk about, I never have enough time because of work. I never have enough time, this and that. And realistically, I mean, I would say at least 90% of the time, we're just making our own excuses to not do the things that, we really set out to do and want to do. If we really put the time and effort into it, we really could. And it's one of those things too that, when me and Max, it's kind of how we, really took our business serious, is because we didn't want to waste this time that we were always asking for and complaining about that we didn't have, and then let it pass us by and look back and go, well, you asked for it and what'd you do with it? So it
Right.
was good for us, and I know good for a lot of people to, like you said, educate yourself on how to build a website and how to do different things that maybe you didn't have the time to do, maybe be with family. So, we always preach that, and it's a good word to live by, is take the negative and turn it into a positive, because there are a lot of positives that you can turn out of this. And, the more you focus on negativity, the more it'll be there. But if you just
Right.
divert that negativity in different ways, then, it's not there to bother anybody. So we're on board with that, and it's a good message, and we hope that, people going forward, who knows what it's going to bring, but, when we have this time that we ask for, make the best of it.
Exactly. It's been tough. I mean, there's definitely a lot of tough things this year, but I think we really don't have a choice but go forward and try to make the most of it. Try to keep the positive as much as you can, because a lot of stuff is out of our hands. So
Can always be worse too. I always say that. Can always be worse.
that's true. It could definitely. So I'm grateful for what I have.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Anna. I am going to have all the information in the show notes.
Okay.
I'll also have everything about your holiday line. I did look at it already. It's really, really cute.
Oh,
So if
thank you.
anybody is looking for any type of holiday mask gifts, Anna's line is perfect for that. So I'll have all that information for you guys. And thanks so much, Anna, for talking with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks for watching the interview, guys. Be sure to like the group and subscribe to learn more about small business owners like Anna Bartoletti. And remember to get out and go shop local this holiday season. Thanks, guys. See you later.